Hi loves, welcome again to Olives. In this video we will be cutting and sewing corset. I believe you've watched the drafting process, that is why I clicked on this video. Meanwhile, the link is in the description box. Feel free to check it out. If you haven't, please keep on watching and let's get started. These are my patterns and the center front will be on fold and you cut one. You also cut two for each of the caps, two for the side front as well as the back. Now if you be dividing, or if you've divided your back into two, then you have to cut two of each of the back, if that makes sense. Okay, so we have the center back and then the side back, so you cut two of each. This is my fabric and it is folded into two, so the center part will align with the center front of my pattern. That is the only pattern that will be on fold, so align it with the center and then lay the rest of the patterns onto the fabric. Note that you add allowance round, so leave enough space in between. Okay, I'll go ahead and add ½ inch allowance to these parts. For the hem of the pattern, I'll use ½ inch as well. I'll also add ½ inch round the caps, as well as the side front and the center back. The side seam allowance will also take ½ inch. Okay, so I'll do this, go ahead and cut. Next, I'll cut facing for the lining with the fashion fabric, and to do this, place your pattern on a piece of fabric like this and trace out the outline of the pattern including the allowance. Okay, and then you want to know the length of the facing you want to use. So I'll use 3 inches and this will mark across. I'm going to use my finger to indicate where the 3 inches stop and I'll mark that here. Also indicate an arrow or a notch for easy identification. This process of adding facing to the lining is optional. Okay, I'll go ahead and repeat the same process for all the patterns. I've gone ahead to cut lining same as the main fabric. The back lining is into two. This is for me to have the center back with the fashion fabric. Okay, I'll also iron interfacing to the main fabric, and this is how it looks after ironing the interfacing to all the parts. Okay, this is how the facing also looks like. I top stitch and the excess is inside. Okay, always make sure you keep your patterns on your fabric even after ironing the interfacing. Okay, you might get confused sometimes. Okay, especially the caps. I'll first remove the front patterns and join them together. I'll then join the sides of both the front and the back. In case you are confused, join the front patterns first and afterwards join the sides of both the front and the back. Okay, I'll join all of them with the half-inch allowance. Let's move on with the cups. Now locate, I believe this is the chest line and then the nipple line. Notch each of them. This will help you while joining them. Okay, repeat the same thing to the other cup. Pick each of cup 1 and 2. With the help of your notches, pin them together. Go ahead and join with half-inch and repeat the same thing for the other cup. This is the main fabric as well as the lining. Please leave about 5-inch space on one side of the lining. After joining the cups, also snip. Do well to give it a good press. So I'll be using this already made bra cap. So place it inside like this. I usually like to find the midpoint by folding them together like this and finding the midpoint to align with the seam line of the main cap. Okay, so go ahead and pin the 2 caps in place. Try not to have any excess along the seam line of the main cap. Okay, so try your best to fit the bra cap into the main cap. Next, stitch round the edge of the cap. Instead of using an already made bra cap, you may want to use wadding, which comes in different sizes. Okay, and this is how it looks like. You can cut it same as the main cap, that's with allowance, and you stitch them together, or cut them same size as the main pattern, that's for the cap, and without allowance. Okay, so you stitch them together and iron into the main cap. Okay, to create boning channels with bias, measure this part of the seam line with the bias like this. Go ahead and cut. Find the center of the front. Create the center line. Also measure with the bias the length of this center line and cut. Repeat the same process to this other side. You are entitled to add as many boning channels as you want. Okay, stitch close to the bias on both sides and repeat this on each of them. I'll fix strap for the lacing on the center back. You can also use grommet or eyelet. Okay, so to do the strap, fold the bias into 2 and stitch the edge down. Okay, away from your stitching allowance, that's from the top, right? Mark half inch, like the way you are seeing me doing, and also exempt the hem allowance we added. Okay, that is ½ inch. Fold your top into 2. I believe you can see the marks, so pin them together and notch to transfer all the markings. Okay, it is best to notch because the chalk may disappear at any time. Okay, each of the straps will be 2 inches, so I'll go ahead and measure 2 inches. Count the number of loops you want to create and cut as such. Place the loop on the first ½ inch mark. Skip the second mark and place the loop on the third ½ inch mark. Okay, so What I'm trying to do is to leave half inch interval between the loops. Okay, you can also decide to just use all the half-inch marks. That means there will be no intervals between them. Okay, I hope everything is clear, and make sure you repeat the same thing on the other side of the back. Okay, let's move ahead to fix our cap, and make sure you locate the side that goes to the center. Right, that goes to the center front. If not, you can place your pattern on the cap. This is just for you not to interchange the caps. Okay, go ahead and locate the seam line of the cap and align it with the seam line of the top as well. Okay, so pin it down. I like to just start from there and pin the top, then I can manipulate the rest. Sometimes the cap may not fit perfectly, and when that happens, snip this side like this. After doing that, continue to pin, and always make sure after pinning you do not have any folds on this part. Stitch round the cap with half-inch allowance. Afterwards, repeat the same thing to the other cap. This is how it looks after stitching the caps together, and I've also gone ahead to top stitch. And before you top stitch, you have to notch around the cap. Okay, let's move on to inserting the bone. I'll make use of ridgeline bone, so knitting the edge with masking tape like this, and start measuring from here like this under the cap, and below that's the hem. We have half-inch allowance, so exclude the allowance on the bone. I'll cut 2 of the same length. Always remember to add masking tape to both ends. Bone is always inserted this way and not the other way. Go ahead and insert. You can also use plastic bone. Same process to all the channels we've created. For the center channel, leave half-inch allowance. Measure the length of the bone. Also exclude half-inch from the hemline. It is important to leave half-inch at the top and at the hem. You may also decide to stitch the bone at the wrong side instead of creating bone in channels. Okay, place the lining on the main piece and pin the upper part of the top together. Go ahead and stitch round. Afterwards, snip round the neckline, especially the curved part. Okay, trim off excess. Direct the excess towards the lining and understitch. Mark half-inch from the hemline of the lining as I've done and trim it off. This is to prevent the lining from showing outside after wearing. Do well to reinforce the edge after trimming. Okay, after understitching, pin the hem of the lining with the main piece. Make sure all seams align. Stitch with 1/4 inch. This is how it looks after stitching and turning inside out. Next is to stitch the center bags together. So I'll go ahead and turn the top inside out again. Start to pin from the top downwards. We will turn everything through this space, so stitch the center back with exactly 1/2 inch. This is how it looks, and I added bone to the center back but away from the stitching line. Turn the whole thing inside out. Direct the allowance together with the bone towards the lining and turn inside out. After all this, give it a very good press. Finally, hand stitch the opening to keep it closed. We also have a tutorial on how to add modesty panel, and if you'd like to add it to your center bag, the link is in the description box. We've come to the end of this video. Please like if you've learned something and this video was helpful to you. If you tend to recreate your corset, please share with us on Instagram at Olive's Creation. Do all to practice your corset often. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and turn on your post notification bell so anytime I upload a new video, you'll be notified. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.